Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Danielle Nierenberg, President and founder of Food Tank.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so thrilled to see all of you here. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural Chicago Food Tank Summit. Again, I'm excited that I'm in front of a completely sold-out crowd, and I'm told that we already have another roughly 6,000 people online watching from about 60 countries. And they're staying tuned via our partnerships with YouTube and Facebook Live. So a big round of applause for all of them who are watching from around the world. I want to give a very special thanks to Organic Valley for making that live stream possible. They have been great friends and partners to Food Tank over the years, and we're incredibly thankful for their support. Everyone can join the conversation today and ask questions using the hashtag #FoodTank. We will be watching the live stream and sharing your questions and feedback across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and also sharing them with the experts on stage. This is the city where Food Tank was born in 2013, and we couldn't be more grateful to our Chicago members and all of our supporters who really made Food Tank happen. I want to give a huge thanks to the Chicago Council on Global Affairs and the Chicago University Booth School of Business for collaborating with us. Dean Cole and Alicia Black and their teams have been great collaborators, and we're so grateful for their work. As was said before, Chicago's a very special place, but I think it's especially special to me and to Food Tank. Although we're no longer based here, this is a place I will always call home. This is where my parents were born and grew up. This is where they got married. My older sister was born here. I'm a die-hard Blackhawks fan long before all those Stanley Cups, and I couldn't be more thrilled that the Chicago Cubs finally won the World Series. So another round of applause. As Dean Cole and Alicia both mentioned, this is one of the greatest food cities in the world, with amazing and unique restaurants, community gardens in almost every neighborhood, and it's cultivating the next generation of agricultural entrepreneurs and leaders who are making the food system healthier, more nutritious, more affordable, more accessible, and more environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable every day. I'm especially excited that we have so many students in the audience today. It's not cliche to say that they will inherit our problems, but they will also inherit enormous opportunity and the understanding that food and agriculture can help solve some of our most pressing environmental and social challenges. They will see the food system providing careers for not only farmers, but for researchers, cooks and chefs, food advocates and storytellers, food businesses, and policymakers who care about agriculture. I'm so excited to see the direction they take the food movement, and it's great to be able to talk to so many of them, including the volunteers who helped us last evening for several hours. And that's why I'm hopeful about the future of food. I've had this incredible opportunity over the last several years to travel to 60+ countries across sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, and Latin America, interviewing hundreds and hundreds of farmers and other stakeholders in the food system. And I learned from them that there are solutions that we can put in place today to build a food system that makes hunger, obesity, food loss and food waste, worker injustice, inhumane treatment of animals, and poverty part of the world's past, not its future. I've said many, many times that we convene these events because we think it's important to bring together a lot of different ingredients. And all of you are here because you care about food and agriculture, and you're coming to it with different tastes and flavors and opinions. We are not here today to just speak to the folks who already agree with us. If we're really interested in change, We need to create dialogue and conversation and stop preaching only to the choir. And after a very contentious election year, I think this dialogue is more important than ever before. Not only are we welcoming a new presidential administration, but we also have to find ways to heal the rifts that divide our country, not only along political lines, but economic, class, and race lines as well. I think that agriculture, more than any other issue, can help us bring us together as a nation. All of us are eaters first and foremost, before we can vote or have an opinion on who should be or who should not be in office. It's time for us to focus on building a food system that provides healthy and affordable and accessible food for everyone. A food system that is humane, fair, and just. A food system where everyone understands that we do not need to destroy the environment to put food on our tables. A food system that realizes that fancy silver bullet technologies are not always the most appropriate technologies. And a food system where workers, eaters, women, and youth all have a seat at the table and no one is left on the outside looking in. The opportunities before us are incredible, but we do not have time to waste. So let's get started. The time is now. We've chosen 5 topics as our main panel discussions today. These are issues that, with our partners, we think need more support, more attention, and more investment from funders and donors, from businesses, from farmers themselves, and all of us as eaters. For our first panel, we focused on the future of farming. We brought together both domestic agriculture and highlighting how farmers need to be recognized for their roles not only as food producers, but business women and men, entrepreneurs and innovators and inventors, and stewards of the land. Our second panel is on the unusual collaborations and alliances that need to be created in the food system. As I said before, we need to be uncomfortable today and talk to people that we normally wouldn't talk to. We need to reach out to businesses and organizations and individuals who we might not always agree with. For real change, we have to reach outside of our comfort zones and find the partnerships that will result in real and lasting change. For the third panel, we're focusing on transparency and the need for highlighting what's behind the food we eat every day. New companies, nonprofit organizations, and animal welfare organizations, and researchers are working to ensure that workers, farm animals, and consumers all have their voices heard. This panel will shine a spotlight on the need for worker rights and better production methods that protect both public health and the environment. In our final panel of the day, we will highlight the future of food investment, food businesses, and research on food and agriculture. What's on the horizon as we welcome a new administration into office, and what sort of funding and investment is needed for making agriculture more sustainable economically, environmentally, and socially. I want to thank all of the food and agriculture reporters and writers who are with us today as moderators. They are some of the most influential voices in not only the Midwest, but around the globe. And we're incredibly honored that they're here today to ask the tough questions on these panels. Roger Thoreau is a longtime friend and mentor of Food Tank. He worked as a journalist for 3 decades at the Wall Street Journal before co-authoring the book Enough, Why the World's Poorest Starve in an Age of Plenty. He's also author of the books The Last Hunger Season, and his most recent book is 1,000 Days, a crucial time for mothers and children and the world. He's also a senior fellow at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. His book will be for sale in the lobby, and I'm sure he'll be happy to sign it for you as well. Monica Eng is a reporter at WBEZ and reports and produces segments on food health and ethnic culture in Chicago and beyond. Before coming to WBEZ, Monica worked for 16 years as the food and culture watchdog investigative reporter at the Chicago Tribune. She's also written for the Sun-Times and has won multiple writing awards. Shruti Singh has been a Chicago-based reporter covering the business of food and agriculture for Bloomberg News since 2006. Her coverage has ranged from Chinese pork consumption to sugar futures and big data on farms to global mergers and acquisitions. She has also written about manufacturing for Bloomberg News and previously covered community government and technology at other agencies. And Bill Daly is a Chicago Tribune food and features writer. He answers food and drink queries from readers in his weekly column, The Daily Question. Prior to joining the Tribune in 2004, Bill was a food writer and restaurant reviewer with the San Francisco Chronicle and spent 11 years at the Hartford Courant. Bill will also be our keynote speaker this evening at our reception and dinner at Italy. We want to thank Barilla, who were gracious enough to host what we hope will be a really spectacular event. And I really hope I get a chance to talk to many of you who will be at the reception and dinner tonight. Now I'd like to thank our sponsors who have shared their products and their knowledge to make this summit possible. It's a long list, so just bear with me. These are folks and organizations who really deserve a lot of credit for their support. The Almond Board of California, Annie's Homegrown, the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition, the Barilla Company, Blue Apron, Cliff Bar and Company, Driscoll's, Elevation Burger, Fair Trade USA, Farmer's Fridge, Leafware, Nyman Ranch, Organic Valley, Panera Bread, the Republic of Tea, Terra Chips, and Veg Fund. Our media sponsors today include the Food and Environmental Reporting Network, Interpress Service, Mother Jones, The Mike Novak Show, and Natural Awakenings. And I'd like to thank the Food Tank staff. They are a small and scrappy team of paid staff members and volunteers who are passionate and make my job such a pleasure. Vanessa Botera-Lowry, McKenna Hayes, Tom Mose, Emily Payne, Ashley Portman, Sebastian Rosemont, Nina Starling, Stracy Starkovich, Daniel Stein, Marissa Zai, and Elisa Upholzer keep Food Tank going day to day, and again, we couldn't run without them. I also want to thank Patrice Garrity of Buzz Productions for our behind-the-scene event production, and I want to thank Brendan Konacki and his team for the live stream. Annette Nielsen from Kitchen Cabinet Productions, it's always been an honor to work with her, and she is responsible for putting together tonight's event. And last but not least, we have two members of the Food Tank Board of Directors who are here today, including Bernard Pollock and Alexander Borshow. A special thanks to Bernard, our board chair. These summits are really his vision, and we're incredibly excited to bring together so many great speakers here today. We're also grateful to our volunteers. They're all around the room. They're wearing all black. They're happy to answer your questions and guide you to the restrooms and anything else you might need. We're also grateful to the rest of our board of directors, the Food Tank Advisory Group, and Food Tank members worldwide for all of their help. I also want to share with you briefly that these summits will continue well into 2017. On February 2nd, just a few days after the inauguration, we'll be having a summit in collaboration with the George Washington University to highlight the policies that the next administration and Congress can take to make the food system more sustainable. And I suspect that they need a lot of advice. We hope that what we discuss today, and then again in DC, will bring about some much needed dialogue on food and agricultural as well as environmental policy, and help guide President-elect Trump and the administration's work over the next 4 years. We'll also be having a summit in Boston on April 1st around the theme of investing in discovery at the Tufts University Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy. And we'll be partnering with the University of California for a food tank summit in the fall in Los Angeles. We also have plans for a food tank summit with our partners in Sao Paulo, Brazil. More events will also be announced soon. I think it's really the most exciting time to be involved in Food Tank, not just because of our events, but because of our research and our advocacy work. If you want more information, please go to foodtank.com and write us and let us know what you want to hear more about. Before we start today, there are a few ground rules. Each panel will begin with a 7-minute keynote, followed by a 30-minute discussion on stage with panelists. We will have about 15 minutes for questions and answers from both the in-person audience as well as our audience viewing the live stream. For those of you asking questions in the room, please make sure that you're asking questions with question marks at the end. I don't want any mini presentations. We will have plenty of time for networking and socializing later this evening. So keep your questions to about 30 seconds, state your name and your organization, and ask the question. I'm not afraid to cut you off. I don't know how many of you have seen these summits. I'm happy to pull you off the stage if I need to or cut you off. So I'm done lecturing you, at least for now. Let's get started.